Hi guys, today in the workshop we have this 1.2 Vauxhall Corsa. Now this came in as a breakdown for cutting out while driving. Now it hasn't done that with us, but when we've plugged in our diagnostic tool, it's come up with 3 or 4 different faults, all for the crank position sensor. So on these engines you'll have 2 sensors, one is for the crank position and the other for cam. And they compare these 2 readings to each other so that it knows that the engine is still in good time. So if there's too much of a difference in these 2 sensors for the cam and the crank, then it'll know that there's an issue with the timing and it'll throw up a code for cam and crank coherence. But what we are looking for now is the crank position. We haven't had codes for the coherence, so I'm happy that the timing is right in the car and it runs fine. But the faults that we are having are for the electrical side of that sensor. So it could potentially be a wiring issue, or it could be that the sensor has just started to fade out. So we have the car up in the air and I can see the crank position sensor and it doesn't look healthy. So if you can see this pile of gunk there, directly underneath that is the sensor. So if you can see just here, there's an e-Torx. I'm thinking an E8. So the sensor is located just above the drive shaft on the actual main block of the engine. And it is a little bit awkward to get the camera in to show you exactly what I'm doing, especially with the amount of sludge and gunk that's collected around it. So just gonna get this out and we can see what's going on. Feels quite tight, it doesn't really want to give. There we are. There it is. So let's disconnect this electrical connector and it's out. On the new one there's a little O-ring, so I'll have to see if that's still stuck in it. It is. So be careful if that happens to you as well, if the O-ring was stuck on the engine. So these sensors are what are known as Hall effect sensors. If you wanted to test it, you could do a resistance test. So if you set up your multimeter onto the 2 terminals inside the sensor and then pass a spanner within that magnetic field, what you should get is a change in the resistance reading that you have to make sure that the sensor is actually working. Anyway, that's enough waffling for me. Let's go get it back on the car. So you can put a little bit of grease on the little rubber O-ring just to make sure that it seats nicely. And it should just click into place. Once it seats, it should click nicely in. There we go. Okay, so once that's tight and you've made sure that the electrical connector is on, we can bring the car down and scan it for faults. But if you have an issue with this sensor, it won't even start, so it's always worth just checking that first. Came straight to life. Let's get the diagnostic tool. So I've done a health scan, so it's gone through all of the different systems on the car. We've got the original 3 faults that originally came up, which are for the crankshaft position sensor. One was circuit malfunction, circuit low input, and another one for circuit malfunction. But these are now not present. So I'll go ahead and clear them. We'll take the car on road test just to make sure everything's gone. And as long as everything's okay, customer can have it back. So I've just done a short road test. It didn't cut out to me. We've scanned it again for codes and we haven't got any issues there. However, there is a noise coming from the engine bay. So I'll show you what I've done. So I've taken off the auxiliary belt just so I can give the pulleys a spin, so I can feel that the alternator is rotating nicely. But here on the water pump pulley, if I spin this, let's see if you can hear it. So that should not be making that noise, so it looks like this is also going to need a new water pump. So I'll get a new water pump ordered for this Corsa. I'll save that for a separate video. But for now guys, I hope this has helped. If it has, please give us a like, drop a comment if you have any questions, and please hit that subscribe button because it helps me a lot here at the channel and it lets me stay here longer to do these videos for you guys. So thanks again, cheers.